ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for the final time tonight to the Coca-Cola Zero League of Legends Champions Korea Summer 2016. We are embroiled in a bout between the Jin Air Green Wings and KT Rolster in what could be the longest night of the season, and what a night for it to be. Let's check out the SoloMid IB MVP. It's someday the 104, 71% kill card.
This has to be a mistake, because the MVP of that game was Inferno Drake, and I don't know why he's not up here, but...
Well, it turns out you can't award Dragons MVPs, so the next best thing is Someday, who will climb up to second place. I think he's tied. No, third place.
I feel like it should have been Score, though, with a lot of the sneaks.
That is true. Score definitely played a great Kindred game, able to tumble over the wall. But Someday was right there for the first sneak on Baron as well, so definitely contributed to it as well. Some pretty crazy occurrences going on tonight. I don't think anybody could have predicted this, but a much more solid game number 2, and Sohan being subbed back out for Trace.
Yeah, he probably took a nap, and now he's back. He's recharged. He's here to retrace his steps.
Oh my god. Well, we are going to head back into game number 3, picks and bans here momentarily, and I'd love to hear what people's perspective, what their thoughts are on this series, because I can only just say...
That says, I really want to go home, by the way. It's already... Wait. Wait. I want to see Jin Air take this. So she says, I already want to go home, by the way, and I really want to see Jin Air take this already.
All right, well, that's where you draw those arrows and you say pick one after them, because it is going to take a lot of work coming in here game number 3 to turn things around. Jin Air just seemed unable to take almost any objective. They picked up that first Mountain Drake and then nothing after it. So definitely a bigger focus to be put on those objectives coming in here to game number 3, because KT looked markedly improved from their game 1 performance. Getting ready for picks and bans. Should be starting up here any moment now. We've worked out all of our technical difficulties.
She says, Mom, I am so sorry. I can't go home, but when I can, I will. Oh, no. No, just I can't go home. I can't go home. I'm sorry.
That is right. Turns out when you're out late on a school night, you better have a good reason for it.
We are approaching 1 a.m.
That is true. We've already crested past midnight. I said in my tweet that midnight dawns, and then I realized, wait a second, the dawn comes
a new dawn
little bit
rises.
later.
That's the name of the League of Legends I'm gonna fall asleep trailer.
Well, let's go ahead and get into Champion Select for our final game of the night, Game 3, coming up here between the KT Rolsters. It's actually just KT Rolster and the Jin Air Green Wings. Some interesting different bans out there, targeting top lane in game 1, mid lane or jungle in game number 2. And now going to start things off with a Sivir ban. KT not wanting to give that away to Pilot, but Pilot's actually shown a proclivity to play relatively immobile champions, so might be picking up a Jin. Already seen that at least once tonight, and possibly more coming this way. Nidalee ban, no surprises there, but there's the Karma ban to take both Karma and Sivir away from Jin Air.
Well, the Karma ban being taken away there from Kuzan. So now we'll see what other trick he has up his sleeve, or if he just reverts back to that Vladimir.
Well, this is the Someday hate train here. Banned out Fiora, banned out Aurelia, and then they banned out his Shen. So Someday...
And they take, by the way, they take Vladimir away from Kuzan, so...
Okay. So taking away Karma and Vladimir, denying both of those comfort picks for Kuzan. But what is Someday going to play here? There are some opportunities open. We'll see what he decides to go for. The Rise, a staple in the ban department, almost 100% pick and ban coming into tonight's games. May not go picked immediately with the Vladimir locked in early for KT, and no sign of a lock-in on that early Rise.
The interesting thing enough is you can actually, as KT, still go for that Rise if you still want it.
Want to start to form your Blue Man group again?
And we've already seen that I don't think Kuzan can play Anivia.
Oh boy, and that is actually something to talk about with the meta changing. You have to be able to change with the meta changing and pick up counter picks that you might not have seen before. Some surprise-looking Captain Jack there. 2014, not 20XX, so I guess it still qualifies, but more fan signs in the audience illustrating their support.
It's like already I can't even go home. Oh, I couldn't read the...
You can't go home. You got to stay here and watch more League of Legends. But that's a Graves lock-in for Wings. So Wings Graves in game number 1.
Oh, no.
Won him that MVP performance.
KT going back to that same... Now, it's not that the comps are bad. It's that KT fails to execute them effectively when it reaches the later stages of the game.
All right, more fan signs in the audience just saying, hey, we're sticking it out. We're in for the long haul. And the next 2 picks, there's finally that rise that we expected to be locked in for Kuzan, so I don't think that's a big surprise. But the Lucian for Pilot also, maybe not a surprise, but still a champion that he is very, very strong with. The Rumble Hover here for Someday. What do you think that's a reaction to? Because it does appear as if top lane's going to be the last counter pick there for Jin Air.
Rise has one of the lowest magic resistances in the game. And then on top of that, well, it depends on also Kazan's runes and masteries. But so the double periodic magic damage coming out from KT wouldn't be as bad as it could potentially be, but without having still seen the top or mid laner, depending on if they can flex the Rise, it can be a little bit problematic. And again, it's one of those team compositions that I just don't feel very confident. Oh, why the Kindred? But I just don't feel very confident that KT can make it work at the later stages. And if the Dragons don't go their way, and if they don't punish Jin Air as well as they did last game, it's going to be a different story.
Well, Vladimir does get relatively tanky. Same story for Thresh, but no big super tank in there. And there it is! It's a lock-in for the top lane. Malzahar again is second time the charm. Maybe Trace just spent this entire week practicing his top lane Malzahar.
Malzahar's broken, man.
We'll see how broken it can be here, and it better be broken enough for Jin Air to be able to take this win, secure themselves a 2-1 over KT, or KT will take first place in the standings, and a win that will further put Jin Air on their downward spiral. They beat SKTelecom 2-1, and since then have not won a game. They picked up a win early on in this series, but can they take the series itself? As we finish up the champion selection, it's going to be a Braum there for Che along with Pilot, so a very standard, solid duo lane there for the Jin Air Green Wings, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Flies pick on that Vladimir, and someday, continuing the theme of periodic magic damage on that Rumble will be enough very high damage team comp. We'll talk about what the purposes are for these team comps once we get into our final game of the night. So if you guys have strong opinions or just want to express them, we'd love to hear what you have to say. Hashtag JAG win for Jin Air Green Wings. Hashtag KT win. If you guys want to see KT take first place in LCK, there's a lot on the line. Both of these teams know it, but neither of them knew exactly how they were going to get to this point here tonight. So if you guys are ready for our final game of the night, let's go ahead and get into game number 3. Cheers for Jin Air. They got a taste of victory in game 1, but the foul taste of only one dragon as their sole objective, along with those 2 uncontested turrets. And wow, Jin Air bringing back Trace, bringing back the Malzahar. Is this the pick that will lead them to a victory here in game number 3?
I don't think Malzahar is particularly bad against a Rumble. The one problem is, though, is you are just going to feed him extra gold because you have no way of preventing Rumble from, eating your Voidlings. So it does look like they are looking for a lane swap off that. And KT does not read it accordingly, so it's going to be a little bit problematic for them. But again, Malzahar, I don't think he deals very well inside of a lane swap scenario, so I wouldn't be surprised if they translate this into a 4-man on a tower. Oh,
what are they doing? Sneaking through the wards. Will they show?
Oh
my god! The ward just barely does not show them, and that entire black pit right there, completely unscouted out. Now, Someday and Score will not see this. They're gonna do a Gromp here. Che, will he reveal himself around the corner? I think he's going to force them in.
Why?
Wait, what? What's happening? Okay, a flash forced out there. Will they force Someday's flash out? No.
Why? Oh man, I feel like I'm watching solo queue right now. It doesn't make any sense to go that early. You could have just easily waited, even if he burned a smite. You could have waited for Score to burn a smite. Rumble's not going to do anything. Yeah, you really offset the jungle, but it's such a poor decision to pull the trigger that early.
What could have been, LS? We may never know. But now we get to see Che run into the jungle. Now, Achani is here, so Che might actually just die here if Achani lands a grab, but not willing to commit to it. Actually do have to kill this wolf.
Well, I mean, you could have brought the wolf up with you. Not totally sure. That's a very pretty Malzahar skin. But anyway, you could have brought the wolf up with you. I don't think it would have been that problematic, to be honest.
I believe that is Jin Malzahar.
So here's the problem, is KTE, they have this, again, very hard hyper-engaged comp. Can't really break in entrances. Now, people might think that maybe you can if, you know, Vladimir turns on his Ghost and he runs through the turret, turns on Sanguine Pool on the back of a Rumble ultimate. Yeah, that's one way that you can do it, but you're going to run into a lot of CC while trying to do that. Now, the other problem is Malzahar and Ryze are insane scaling champions, and KT does not want to play a scaling game against this Jin Air Green Wings team composition because they will lose very hard.
Wow, well, already we're starting to see a slower game than game number 1. By this point in game 1, or in game 2 rather, we already had like 2 turrets down. So still waiting to see what the play will be here. Some mirrored lanes, as we do have the tops on the bottom and the bottoms on the top. Solos down here where the duos have been previously.
I want the observer to click on Malzahar because I want to see what he upgrades at 3. It looks like he does take a point. So this is going to enable him to shove. Now that is a lot of damage.
Oh man, look at those Voidlings. Holy cow, Voidling goo! Lots of damage to be put down onto Someday, but wow. Can he actually stay in lane here? And no level 6s coming anytime soon, so he won't feel that pressure from Trace. He might be vulnerable to getting dove if he's not too careful about making sure he knows where Winged is.
But they need something to happen. If nothing happens for them and Jin Air just goes completely unscathed as they cruise into the mid-game on autopilot, they're going to be glad playing.
Well, for KT, they were doing, they did a great job and are still doing a good job controlling objectives in game number 2. Game 3 coming up here, and wow, what a day for them to have here in LCK. We started off with a few delays, and then it was just long games and continual team fights. And game number 2, KT looked pretty unfazed by all of that. But game 3 is where it's all decided. And we haven't seen early turrets be taken down. We haven't really seen any of those characteristics of a lane swap because they were both swapped there so early to meet each other. Here's Winged in the bottom lane, Someday immediately turning around.
I think it actually would have been interesting there had Winged flash to get the red buff slow, and then if Trace follows up. And I know that's going to sound very weird because obviously there is in no world a way for them to kill Someday, but trading flash for flash is going to benefit Jin Air way more, just because the Malzahar ultimate when it comes up at 6.
Lots of big impactful ults coming up at 6. Arrow's ult will also be in there. Nice play there onto Che. A lot of damage to be put down even through the Unbreakable. Reminds me of that, wasn't there a M. Night Shyamalan movie called Unbreakable as well? Slightly different theme than the giant ice wall. Definitely more of a Game of Thrones concept, but Johnny walking forward, looking to pressure with those hooks. But Winged is here in the jungle, and there's no counter gank being set up by Score, who's on the opposite side of the map.
Yep. And, oh, I think they would have wanted that hook to actually hit. But it's going to be fine anyway.
Oh, and Johnny will have those concussive blows. Stun him out, the collateral damage! Busts him out of the game for first blood on Winged.
Yep.
And it's no offensive items, by the way, built by Winged. He's just that damaging.
Yep. And now they're going to look to pick up this tower, and this might also translate into a Rift Herald. This is not what KT wants to have happened, especially because they don't really have an answer in bot lane right now. Now, they might look to try to get Rumble to hit 6, which is going to be approaching right now, and they can look to dive with Kindred and kill that Malzahar, but they need to make sure that Malzahar's pass, never mind, they don't even have a minion wave to really coordinate that.
Have to have some minions before they push into anything too crazy. Now, first dragon of the game is a Mountain Drake. We mentioned this in passing, but oh, wow.
Trace sniffing that out. Morellonomicon first item again.
He's not even playing Warwick, but he's still got the blood scent.
Yep.
Death Sentence just barely not hitting there as Winged puts out a little damage on the fly. He'll be healing that back, no problem. Okay, well they get blue buff down to half health and it just
he did
respawns,
take, yeah.
or
Not sure what that was all about, but that's going to be okay. Trace does have his ultimate up. That means that if Winged at any point shows up, Rumble's going to fumble. Nice Banshee's Veil, nice ability, nice passive. Looks like Rumble is also going Abyssal Scepter first item, and I don't know about you, but I don't think Abyssal Scepter's range really synergizes well with the Equalizer.
We did see Shen build double magic resistance items from Spectre's Cowl and that Negatron Cloak in reaction to Trace's top lane Malzahar in game 1. So that obviously took the game very, very late. Will this game continue to stall out just as late?
Well, the problem is Jin Air has this hyper scaling team composition, and they're almost ahead 2K in gold. So KT not really feeling so great, and Kindred not really doing anything. Rumble pick is gonna fall off the longer this game goes. Stuff not really turning out for them right now. Now, no dragons have been taken, but if anyone's in position to take dragons, it's gonna be Jin Air.
Okay, so for Jin Air, though, they do have to actually get down there into position, and it does look like with pings, that is exactly what they're setting up to do. Now, Score will grab a blue buff here, but is this really worth giving up this first Mountain Drake? It's what they did in game 1. Maybe just trying to go for the repeat.
Yeah, and it looks like Graves is going to be able to solo this. It's going to be A-okay.
Watch the Rumble Equalizer come in and steal it.
Yeah, right at the last second.
I believe.
Steals it and
someday.
kills him. Yep.
Where's that big play? Nope, probably not going to go for that. And a wise decision. He might need to.
I mean, Wing could also just dive someday here, by the way. I think it's really important to bring that up, that the suppression is super long on Malzahar, and the silence doesn't really allow for much counterplay.
I think you said it was like 5 seconds on that suppress.
Well, the suppression is so unfair.
It's, well, I mean, you do suppress yourself.
QSS, yes. But you have the Voidlings going to town for you.
That's true. Oh man, no no trades there, but trades in the mid lane. Wow, Fly. It's a little bit beat up. He is going Spirit Visage first, no question about that. But oh, look at Winged. He's coming in here. He does get that smite. Wait, no, Score got the smite for that Razor
Score
shot.
got the smite. So now Rise continuing to scale up. KT has brought the gold difference a little bit closer, only about 1.3, 1.4 now.
Oh, there it is. A lot of damage onto Someday. Turning it back around, though. Trace does lose his passive. I'm not sure about the flash away. I feel like it's Voidlings.
I think he had to flash away at that point, to be completely honest.
What about the Voidling damage?
The Voidling, it wouldn't have ended Rumble. Rumble had too much HP. The Voidlings probably would have faded when Rumble had around 300 HP. And then also, if you know that Score is en route, there's nowhere for you to run because Score would be able to cut you off about 8 centimeters south of the tier 2 turret.
Okay, well, we did see a strong performance there from Sunday. We did force Trace to flash, but now it's Score coming in. Maybe force some flashes of his own. Rotating around the side. unspotted in the bottom brush. Trace trying to recall, but Someday should have a pillar to say about that. Electro Harpoon misses their score, but a teleport coming in, and there's Winged right on time. Can they find that red buff slow? Someday's in a little bit of a rough spot, but he is actually able to get away. Now Score does pop that Lambs Respite. He's trying to stay in there, up and good. A miss there on the ult there, but Kuzan will secure it. A little dirty on the dive, but still a kill is a kill for Jin Air.
I actually wonder if the miss
was intentional?
Yeah,
so
but
that
then
he
I'm
could
thinking, like, no, actually, you just hold it. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you can say maybe he was trying to herd him with the ult to push him in a certain direction to get the kill to Kuzan.
Yeah, that's possible, because otherwise you would just be wasting the teleport on Rise. You can see this Trace sniffs it out, excellent sense. Silence comes down, and then Someday decides, okay, I'm going to try to make it out one way. But then when you call Kuzan down to teleport, you don't want this to be for nothing. Yeah, see, at this point, Wing knows. At this level of play, they know, okay, I have enough to kill her. But then you saw Kuzan turn around, so I'm pretty sure that the ult is intentionally missed.
So close to being able to pick it up, but when you miss it like that, like you said, you do give the opportunity for someone else to get the gold, and you still get some assist gold. Not like you're being completely denied, but man, 2 kills here already for Jin Air, and they're on the 2 arguably hardest carries on their team. Also,
note that for a 22 CS differential, including an assist for Trace, the goal difference is actually only around 300, so that technically doesn't add up if you really do the math. So that's just going to show how many Voidlings Someday has killed this game, because Voidlings do not count towards CS count.
They certainly do not, but a big rotation to the mid lane, lots of pressure, but bottom lane, that's where the suppression is. Look at all that damage on the Someday. He's silenced. He can't get away, and Jin Air claim their 3rd kill of the game.
Yep. And now, I mean, Malzahar is getting out of control. Rise is looking on par to get out of control. And remember, Jin Air has that Mountain Drake, and they're the scaling team. They're ahead on every single step.
Journey of 1,000 miles starts with
they
a
have
single
teleport
step.
on Trace if they want to call him up here.
Trace, do you want to commit? Trace being subbed back in, subbing, wow, I just forgot his name, but mid lane, no time for that. Fly trying to find some healing, coming back his way there from that ult. Collateral damage does not, unfortunately, miss that isometric viewpoint. Yep. Just a little bit too rough.
Trace can be able to pick up the bottom turret, so, you know, not bad at all. Yep. Next Dragon coming up now in about a minute and a half. The problem is if Jin Air Green Wings wants to capture that top tier 2 tower, if they don't capture it within the next 30 seconds or make a play to, which doesn't look like that's going to be the case for them, they're looking to probably capture it somewhere around the 23 to 25.
Okay, well, Jay in a little bit of a rough spot there, but turning it right back around, exhaust on the pilot, and there's a big equalizer. Will it equalize this fight? Someday coming in, turning around, and taking down Pilot.
Yep, and Trace is here. He did use that teleport. Oh no, Fly.
What? Hello? Fly? Please respond. Turning it back around, Trace does a momentary. He didn't finish it, and he's actually walking away from the Kindred ult. A nice snare there by Kuzan, roots him in place. Is it a snare? Is it a root? Who knows? But what? Wow, both teams with some somewhat confusing strategies here.
Well, that whole skirmish was just so confusing, and I mean, I'm sitting here, and you know, I don't know what to say. I mean, look at this replay. So, okay, so initially they catch out Pilot and Che. Okay, Arrow is gonna miss. He's gonna whiff an ultimate right there, but that's not, you know, so bad. You could have anticipated the Pilot would keep going. They call up Trace with a teleport. You see Wing coming around on the right-hand side.
Exactly.
But then he botches a silence. If that silence goes off and Che follows him on the right-hand side, they can instantly just delete Fly from the fight and both make it to Kuzan. If that happens, Wing can probably come over from the top-hand side. So it's just very bizarre to see these type of mistakes being made.
Both teams have made a lot of mistakes in game number 1, and it's important to know from a spectator standpoint. So I feel like one of the big draws to LCK is that you get to watch the best teams, the best players in the best league in the world. Of course, that's subjective, but in many ways, it is objective when it comes to their international performance. Teams like SKT1 or SKT-T1, you really just can't deny how strong they are. The Rocks Tigers, and previously, a couple of weeks ago, it was the Jin Air Green Wings. They found a 2-1 win over SKT, and then they dropped it. They've lost every game since then, but oh, another big fight coming in there. It's Chani that gets blown up, and now score, forced to flash away. The culling takes him down, but might there be a turnaround potential here? Someday coming in, he's burninating the countryside, and he is gonna take down 1 kill. He's gonna grab a second, and things go from bad to worse here for Jin Air as KT come in a big way.
Yep.
And
Kuzan, though, he does have teleport available. So Kuzan can easily recall here, teleport, and come in and restart the fight. So I'm a little curious as to why that's not happening, but it looks like they want Rumble. Che drops the chance to hit a slow onto him. Not going to be the end of the world. Now imagine if Kuzan was teleporting in when they stepped that far forward on maybe the most left ward that we just saw on the screen there, that pink ward. It could have been really trapping, and they maybe could have looked to pick up Fly or Arrow.
So like you mentioned, picking up Fly or Arrow, those are good options, but what is really the pick to be made? Obviously, they're going to try for Fly, but I mean, Sanguine Pool is a good skill, and he's still, okay, he actually doesn't have Flash up. He got that up in about 20-30 seconds.
Yeah, and we're about to go into a replay here. This was Che, lands the slow, Tommy gets caught up. Malzahar with that ultimate onto score. You know, the silence, the void links, the E, everything just coming out. Someday arrives though, the equalizer completely changes the course of this fight. And then Arrow starts to clean up Clue and Fly starts to clean up Crew. But I think there was a little bit of missed opportunity there with Kuzan not teleporting right back into the fight and getting back into the fray.
Still interesting to see the way that this game has transpired as opposed to game number 2. KT just shut out Jin Air in terms of objectives. This time around, it's actually remarkably even. No early lane swaps, but Arrow and a little bit of a rough spot. A nice ult there by Score to save his AD carry. Brilliantly placed, and a nice support performance there. Score saves Arrow, but at what cost?
Yeah, and they managed to pick up a top lane turret, which is luxury turrets. And Arrow with an, swing and a miss. Oh,
man, a big burnination there on top of Winged. You can't drink that many hexes, and that's going to be Arrow coming out with the kill.
I guess you can say that Wing had his wings clipped.
Not really. No.
No? Okay.
He's not even a bird.
Why isn't he a bird?
Because
Are you saying he can't identify as a bird? Graves identifies as a bird. That's why. That's why he vapes. You know that Graves vapes? Did you read that?
I did. Yes, indeed. I'm not sure how much of a pop culture decision that is, and how much of it is actually lore.
Well, he's a part of the Vape Nation.
Oh my God. Where were you when the Vape Nation attacked? I don't know.
Let's get a replay right here. So here is when the Vape Nation attacked. Everything went wrong when Fire Nation came. You see, they have that special mech gear. So when Rumble takes down Wings there, nothing else can really happen. A little bit unfortunate, just getting caught out, but not much else to say about that right there.
Well, the game continues. 20 minutes in, and I guess what's the big thing that Jin Air are looking for? In game number 2, it was objectives, and they just never took any of them.
Yeah.
Here in game 3, objectives are not quite as hotly contested early on, or I guess early on it was no contesting because you just had lane swaps to take turrets, but this time around, we should see a little bit of difficulty holding on to absolutely everything and trying to get an eye on, Hachani. Oh my God.
Wow.
The collateral damage not going to come out to try to steal that kill.
Yeah, Graves dealing quite a lot of damage. Now, one thing that is important is, again, KT, while they have closed the gold gap a little bit to some extent, Jin Air remains in the lead with the scaling team composition.
Oh boy. Well, for Jin Air, they do have a lot on their side as far as scaling. Even the Graves, we saw Wings just crush with that towards the end of the game, having several game-winning ultimates. And it seems weird to say he had several game-winning ultimates because usually that you would expect there to be one that won the game. But no, there were actually many that gave his team the opportunity not only to win, but to come back. The halt pushes. Great performance there by Winged in game 1. And it looks like he is minorly deviating from that full AD Graves build.
Yep. A little bit of a deviation here. And now, on top of that, I mean, the Maw coming out is going to be super, super effective against Thresh, Vladimir, and Rumble. Because a lot of people, you know, when you see someone build Maw, a lot of people think, well, why are you going AD? Why aren't you going a tank item? That is a tank item. It gives you a ton of HP designed to handle against a certain damage type. That is as tanky as it gets, and it gives you, you know, base resistance against it.
And the ability to sustain, so essentially more health coming your way when you are low health. Now,
okay, that was but that was not a...
Yeah, the redemption coming in there. Fly with a flash in, tries to proto belt over the wall, but it's a little bit too thick, and Winged survives. Trace, not so lucky.
Yeah. And right there, rather than trying to, you know, continue on, I think that he should have just had a final stand with his ultimate, the Voidlings, and a silence, but he doesn't. And I was saying this in game number 1. Even though the Malzahar is an extremely strong pick, I don't feel like they're making use of it the way that they could.
I'm trying to remember back towards game 1 when Trace did play that Malzahar. Let's take a look at this replay first. Trace doesn't even get a chance to ult.
Gets the passive away, and then he misses the equalizer, but that's okay because arrow lands his arrow.
Trace flashes in a line too, so he just still gets hit.
I mean, even if Trace does ulti or do anything there, it's not going to make too much of a difference. But he could have hoped to have silenced Rumble a little bit sooner, and maybe that would have made a small difference. But at the end of the day, you know, it's really nitpicking, and KT closes the gold gap to just 1K.
While that is closing, it's far from over yet. We're tied in kills. We're actually only 1,000 gold difference here at 23 minutes. And the objectives, while they are starting to fall, it's going to be about which dragons do spawn, just like it was in game number 2. Like you mentioned, tweeting out between the games, that if they had been any other Drakes in Triple Infernal, it could have been an entirely different story for KT.
Now, next dragon about to spawn, and KT is looking poised to take it, and it is another mountain dragon.
Wow.
Well, the Summoner Drift Gods, they've had enough. They're like, okay, you've used our land long enough today. So they're just giving them everything they need to just make sure that these games end quick.
Okay, now it's a trap. Lane in wait.
Oh,
go to clear this. Achani, where's the grab? It just barely misses.
Wow.
Winged. Well, I don't know what else
barely slipped by, but it looks like with how fast they kill that dragon, it's not gonna matter. And KT with very, very impressive objective control in all of these games, but where they really fumble it is ending the game.
Well, when it comes to ending the game, I think the biggest thing to worry about is, like you said, fumbling it. You got to watch out for throwing it. You have to control the objectives up until that. What are both of these teams looking for strategies to end the game? Just trying to think about how to say that. How do both of these teams win?
Well, all that Jin Air really needs to do is they need to make it to about 3.5 core items. We're making it there almost. As you see, Malzahar, 2.5 core items.
Okay.
Rise, 2.5 core items. They're almost at that critical mass where they're just going to look to bulldoze through KT when it comes to the team fights. And if Trace can lock up score, that's going to mean that there's no ultimate to prevent death. And that's going to be really problematic. Now, one thing that is important, though, is Trace went Void Staff second item. So the CC that you would normally expect to come out of Malzahar around this timing in terms of the slows is not going to be there.
Wow. So talk about maybe some team compositional oddities. That Fly went heavy magic resistance, big tank item there in the Proto Bell. Oh my gosh, Shay. Okay, he's unbreakable. Someday also went for Proto Bell, Rylai's Negatron Cloak QSS. So tons of tankiness, tons of magic resistance. Is that going to put a dent in Jin Air's scaling and maybe make their mid-game power spike not as strong?
The thing about Protobelt is I don't really like it. I know that there are people that do build it occasionally, and I guess they're mostly using it for the gap close, and they're using it for the utility that it grants inside of the team fight. And this is a team comp that does need it. Now on Vladimir, it is a little bit interesting because it does help and it directly synergizes with the Ghost,
right?
Because it enables him to get that much more close and that much more up in your face, or to retreat if necessary.
Okay, oh man, Someday's gonna get stunned out here. A nice knock up there from Che, but an arrow to turn it back around. Che forced the flash away. It's Someday that gets picked off by Pilot Winged. Actually there to take the kill. Fly a little bit too late to the party, and KT find a nice pick.
My problem with this right now is Trace could just actually flash ultimate, and a fight can actually break out, and KT doesn't have an answer to it. So unfortunate to see, and I don't know how trained Trace is on that. Oh, we'll hold that thought.
Whoa, a big Hemo Plague onto Kuzan and Wing. Wing will not pop, but his Hex Shrinker will. Mortius, brethren. Oh my god, again, a big, there's the flash for the suppression, and a Pilot guiding his team. The Jin Air Green Wings to another kill.
So a Malzahar with 30% CDR does actually enable your team to take Baron without taking damage, because the W will be up endlessly, thus making it virtually free. So as you see here, Che lands that slow someday, ultimate goes off. Now, little close, but not enough.
Oh, and just
then,
that last
that
auto.
last second, he even ends up flashing. So really big reward for Generic Green Wings, because in most cases he would have died before that flash went off, but they managed to get the flash anyway. So now KT coming in to secure vision control around Baron.
And in game one, we saw so many champions escape with just a sliver of HP. Wing was one of them. This time around, on the other side, Someday not quite so lucky to escape such low HP. So much magic resistance coming out from Someday. He's got so many different levels. He's got Null Magic Mantle, Negatron Cloak, QSS, and lots of health to stack on top of that. So he knows what he needs to itemize against, but I mean, I feel like it's Winged and Pilot that killed him in that fight, and he's got no armor to speak of.
Yep.
What happened to Zonya's Hourglass? That was like core Rumble item, and now it's just nowhere to be found.
Well, there's so much magic damage coming out of Jin Air's team composition, but it doesn't really matter considering Rise removes so much of your magic resistance, and then with the Void Staff already out and the Void Staff coming out on Rise next, that magic resist is not going to do too much, and the itemization into it is not really going to be too efficient.
I find it kind of odd that the team with the Malzahar is building more Quicksilver stashes than the team playing against Malzahar.
Yeah.
Somewhat odd. So for Jin Air Green Wings, they find themselves kind of in the driver's seat. They're ahead by a couple thousand gold, but not really too dominantly in any real objective list. As far as turrets go, they're only up one. And when you look at the Dragons,
get this
KT.
tower. What are you? What?
Okay.
Well, Kazan could have actually probably applied 600, 700 damage to that tower, and if you bring down Winged as well, you can easily threaten it, and with Dragon coming up in 40 seconds, it's not going to be the end of the world anyway.
Well, speaking of threatening things, KT are going to threaten this Baron, just walking right up to it and starting it off. They do have double Mountain Drake, which means that their objective damage is actually insane. And look at how fast they take Baron! They didn't even need to sneak it, they just walk up, take it down, and walk away.
Yeah, maybe they thought they were sneaking it, but weren't aware that they were under vision with that.
I guess the sneakiness is that Jin Air Green Wings just didn't know how quickly they could do it. Double Mountain Drake, and now 3 minutes of Baron time that KT are going to have to not only defend and shore up their lanes, but also possibly even to push aggressively.
But Jin Air will get Dragon. It's almost impossible. Never mind. Malzahar for some reason in top lane.
Yep. And someday, Rumble does not have any crowd control, so will not be able to stop Trace from teleporting down an Inferno
You want an
Drake.
equalizer.
Oh boy.
This could be an equalizer. Well, okay, Jin Air. I guess they just want to give every objective
with a Rumble in the game. But this will equalize the game essentially, or will it? Score gets the smite. This guy's been smiting everything, and he does get 2 mountains and an Inferno Drake.
If
for his
Jin
team.
Green Wings was a lawyer, they would get fired how many times they've been objected.
Rejected, objected, and all of it's been
Oh,
sustained.
he found the Arcade.
Fly gets caught, but scores there for the save. You can't stop this guy from saving the rest of his team. He's flashing forward. Scores is doing it all. He's getting objectives, he's getting kills, and he's getting KT into a great position here at 30 minutes into game number 3.
And they're going to look to raise 2 towers here, and that is going to push them pretty far into the gold lead after everything is all said and done in the next minute and a half or so. Probably going to have about a 3K gold lead. Oh, someday. Little dicey. Oh, Pilot trying to be a little bit greedy with this recall, and that's not something you want to do. They're looking to take this even further. They're
actually going to commit to this, and they'll take it down.
Yep.
All that extra damage, Inferno, Double Mountain, these objectives just don't stand a chance.
Yep. RNG.
No longer
In
just a
favor
team
for both
in China.
teams, but KT making sure they're the ones that are capitalizing on the opportunities that are presenting themselves. You can just see that they're a little uncoordinated there. Trace ulting when it's not at the correct time. Wing thinking, you know, his damage would come out a little bit more, but Score ends up cleaning that up, and then they bulldoze themselves through 3 turrets straight up mid. And now this gets really, really dicey. Because yes, Jin Air has hit that point where they have those items where they can just light people up. But KT now, with the items to resist, but also counter threat, an equal amount of damage.
I'm still trying to keep an eye on what really the transition is going to be from both teams sort of jockeying back and forth, sort of trading team fights right and left, and what will be the nail in the coffin. Game number 1, it was Winged who got his MVP performance there on that Graves. But here in game 3, we've had, it's been a long time since game number 1. We've all but forgotten about that. I'm sure it's written on some stone tablets somewhere. But will it be enough? Now, Trace, up in the top lane, does have his passive. You can see he's not even worried about the threshold because he knows it's not going to CC him. It's a good passive.
Passive falls apart right there. But
great volley to do that, though. Really important to break that down. Now,
Pilot, I'm so nervous right now. I feel like Jin Air is going to misstep once, and that's going to be the end of it.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. This tension is palpable, along with the exhaustion of just about everyone. The audience is thinned as it is now past midnight here in Korea. In fact, I believe we might actually be closing in on 1 a.m. as we are very, very, very late in the day. 10 minutes until we hit that. A nice QSS there by Kuzan to deny Hachani his hook. A little bit of damage there on to Fly. The Voidlings start to put that damage down, and the longer that Fly does not die, the more Voidlings will spawn on top of him. He is healing off the Voidlings, though, so Vladimir just doing Vladimir things. And a recall back to base for Trace.
Pretty big wave in the bottom lane.
What is Trace doing?
Trace just continuing to try to poke Fly down, but that's not going to do anything.
And here we go, a big equalizer. There's the death sentence. He's going to pull Che in. Che goes down. The Hemo Plague still on Kuzan and Wing. It's going to pop, but it's not going to pop the Jin Air Green Wing. They lose their support, but will they lose more?
I think this could actually...
They're out of minions for the time.
They do have 2 Mountain Drakes, so as long as a minion wave approach it, no, it looks like they're just going to take it, play it safe, get the mid lane inhibitor, and then the correct play would be to rotate down and unite with the bottom wave.
It's a 4v5 for the time being, but with so much objective damage, they're just going to kill off that inhibitor and now try to disengage. Can they make it out successfully? It looks like they have.
See Rumble moving down. We'll see if he just lightly taps the wave with some flame spitters. And he doesn't. Instead he goes for Grom. Visiting Tom Kench's wife. And you see the arrow goes in now on Kusang. And it doesn't even matter because Trace is completely out of position because he was trying to harass down a Vladimir to just heal off of the Voidlings. So it doesn't make too much sense there. Dragon and Baron respectively both coming up in just under a minute and a half apiece. Now you see QSS is out on Kindred and on Rumble, so targets for Trace to engage with on the fight are removed now.
Targets for Trace. Sounds like a 90s boy band. That's
FT. Yeah, it's a clan actually on Korea. I think it's a Chinese clan.
I remember TNT. They,
that hosted WWE.
yeah, and TOT. Very famous,
Templars of Twilight.
Templars of Twilight. That's In Control's old clan.
Yeah.
Way back in the day. But back to League of Legends. I don't think TOT has a League of Legends team, as it were. Man, I would love to watch that happen. But different clans out there and different esports, of course, as well. Well, let's take stock of things as we near what could be an explosive finish to our series that has definitely gone the distance. If you guys wanted your money's worth from coming down to the Nexon Arena to watch League of Legends, you have certainly gotten it here tonight. You pay like $2 to $4 for a ticket, and you get to sit here for hours and hours and hours of League of Legends.
No. You know what? I think I know what you want to do. I think you want to be like Echo. And you want to just go back.
Rewind time.
You want to rewind time.
Cast League of Legends every second of every day and
No,
then do it all over again.
this series from the beginning.
Can you imagine how well you could cast if it was like Groundhog Day and you just memorized everything?
Oh, man.
Well, KT have memorized the way to every objective that they could ever want. And while this time around, Jin Air has secured one more turret than they did in the entirety of last game, KT are still on top of almost every single objective. They've gotten a 5,000 gold lead, a Dragon turret lead, now with Elder Dragon on top of everything else. They're finally poised to potentially... there's no way they do this from over the wall. They are going to go over it. Lots of Voidlings, lots of damage. The Voidling exposes it.
Oh, that's a...
But they're actually going to get it.
Wait.
Achani the God. No, not going to steal it over the wall. Voidlings come out with a Baron for Jin Air Green Wings.
Yeah.
Wow. Talking about sneaky sneaks, man. We had KT get theirs in game number 2.
I can just picture KT in the booth right now saying, not like this.
They're like, no, we are the only ones who are allowed to steal away a Baron. Sneaky Jin Air will grab that objective for themselves, and this game is not over by any means.
Well, the ability to simply blitz up mid is an option for KT, assuming they can take a fight. Malzahar keeps getting stronger, and so does Rise. So they're not out of the woods yet, though. Any misstep for either team can just spell doomsday.
I'm so conflicted. We've seen Wing with great ways to turn games around earlier on. This time around, though, it seems to be Score who's setting up his team, and Fly who's just carrying everything that he can possibly handle. He's got his arms full. He's like, why can't I hold all of this, I don't know, victory, his goodness, these catches working out. And for Trace, once again, 0, 2, and 5 on this top lane Malzahar. I don't know if I'm going to be seeing this in solo queue afterwards.
Nope, maybe not. Rip my win rate.
Well, no, it's not like it's doing badly. I mean, 0-2-5 is still not a bad score to have.
This is competitive, too. Imagine in solo queue where it's a lot more oppressive, you know, not suppressive like his ultimate, but it's definitely very annoying to handle, and he has a lot of good matchups, and he's extremely forgiving on your team as a whole when the game goes really late because of that ability to just press R.
Yep, turns out the ability to turn someone off for about 5 seconds is something that if I had realized, I would have be as strong as Malzahar for most of my life. But turns out his suppression is maybe a little bit more valuable, as now KT, Kuzan, he's going to try to teleport out. Oh, the nice dodge, but he still does have his teleport. He teleports outside of, wait, what, why? No, this is so terrible for Jin Air, or is it? I Fly on the other side. What's happening here? Everybody's getting caught out. Trace just explodes the arrow, and on the other side, Fly able to use both of his summoner spells to get out alive. Now, is that optimal? No, but a kill's a kill, and that means that KT will have a stronger push up the top lane.
Right, and the problem with this is KT actually had a minion wave. So this is gonna directly translate. This might actually be 2 inhibitors.
Wait, Jin Air.
Oh my god!
That damage onto Someday. He's actually not going to stay inside the Lamester Spite, so he moves out of the spite.
Kuzan!
He's got vengeance in his eyes, but he's not going to be able to capitalize on top of it. What game am I watching?
Nice champ.
This is
Graves.
so similar to so many solo queue games that I've had where you establish yourselves with an advantage and then randomly players just walk into the enemy team, get picked off one by one, and just can't handle staying together and just not getting picked off. I saw Jin Air in some super questionable positioning there. I don't know, man. LS, what's going on?
Well, we're seeing KT with his inability to shut out a game.
Let's watch this again. Why is Kuzan there?
It doesn't make any sense unless they're actually calling for Trace to sacrifice himself in exchange for getting Kuzan out, but that doesn't make any sense either. Just nothing really makes sense to me. I feel like I'm looking at hieroglyphs from a language that has never been deciphered.
How do you read that which has not been deciphered? Well, it's a struggle I was going through for many days until I learned Hangul. Now I can read it, but I still don't know what a lot of the words mean, so it's like, well, only so valuable. Much like the ability to decipher games like this, which seem KT favored, you never know about the positioning from Jin Air Green Wing. Sometimes it's a little questionable like we just saw, and sometimes it's great getting Baron sneaks that keep them in the game. Neither Baron nor Dragon up for quite a few more minutes.
This is actually so unfortunate that KT is able to play the way that they play all game, and then they reach this 42-minute mark, 45, 50-minute mark, and they completely fall apart. It's almost like they become a different team when it reaches
They're going
this
to
stage
need
of the
to.
game.
Okay, so game number one, they pull out a narrow win off of some MVP performances from guys like Winged and Kuzan. Game number two, it's all about just team play and objective control for KT. This game three actually has kind of hallmarks of both of those facets. We've seen great picks, individual like objective steals. Winged this time around once again going for his full offense Duskblade of Drakthar. Graves build again. He's going to go in for it and does not smite that. Okay, so actually scores the one to come away with that red buff.
And look at how both teams are posturing right now. So, okay, if you're KT, what do you do at this point in the game? Honestly, you just put Rumble in bot lane. You know, you have him play safe, you give him the proper ward coverage around Wolves, and you execute a 0-4-1 into a 0-0-5 relative to any major objective coming up. From that, you just try to control the area, control the runway with the equalizers, the Ash Arrows, and really just make sure Jin Air can't do anything. Okay. And you need to pick away at them.
So it's all about control here as we crest the 43-minute mark. We've been beyond this, LS. We have been way beyond this, so it's not...
It is 1 a.m.
All right, well, welcome. We did in fact say, you know, what a time to be alive. Well, that is the current time that we are alive, so I am continually surprised as this day gets stranger and stranger. But at least for now, if you had told me we'd be seeing top lane Malzahar, after about an hour into the broadcast, I would have definitely believed you. This day has been very non-standard, but sometimes that's what it takes to
I
get
feel
your
like
team to
this is literally wrapping up to be another KT train wreck.
Oh no, Che walks right next to the entire enemy team and doesn't die. Cool.
Yeah, and Kuzan is in bottom. Now, I don't know if Kuzan can light up Rumble. I don't think that he can. He does have the QSS. Rumble does have a Proto Belt on his Anya's.
Maybe if Rumble's facing backwards and can't use Flame Spitter.
Yep.
Okay, bottom lane, there's actually going on. Someday dies and we didn't catch it.
Yep. Very important to watch them posture in mid.
I mean, I guess it is important as they siege the Baron. Maybe.
Well, I mean, this is gigantic because now all Jin Air has to do is dance over and over and over until Ryze is knocking on that inhibitor door. You want to keep dancing a little bit more? You know, just throw down Trace and have him teleport with you.
All of Jin Air are human, so by default they can't be Dancer as well. In the Baron pit are the Jin Air Green Wings. Do they start and do they stop?
You could actually do a swap-a-roo and have Trace teleport down bottom and have Kuzan come up.
Giving away this Baron. What a choice to make. I think the choice to collapse onto Kuzan, and oh my gosh, they just blow him up. A cancel on the teleport. The turret survives, and KT take a kill for a Baron. It does not seem like a worthwhile trade to me, but what's behind that thought process, LS?
Maybe they're thinking that now they can establish vision control around Elder Dragon and look to take that. And Elder Dragon for KT is a lot more powerful than it would ever be for Jin Air, given that they have those 3 dragons. And with that, I mean, they can look to just really demolish and shred towers because of the enhancement that it grants to the other dreams. But it looks like they're not doing that, and they're just going to look to take that. Wow, look at how fast that dies.
Oh my god. You take a look at those dragons. They are those are some good buffs.
Yeah, I think they should actually just tank the bottom tier 2 turret. And
just take it down.
Yeah, just take it
Rumble
down.
should push this wave relatively quickly, and maybe overextending right now and taking turrets is a recipe for overextending and losing.
Yep.
So one step at a time. Blue buff still stolen away there by Fly, so a great pickup by him.
Here it is, the decisive, well, it depends on
Elder
how...
Dragon.
Oh, man.
Up, available. But is it here to stay? Push up the mid lane here by Jin Air Green Wings. That trade between Baron and a kill onto Kuzan. Still a little bit questionable, but it's not like any single action is going to end the game up until now. I say that. We've seen a lot of very maybe dire straits for both sides. Jin Air stealing Baron a couple of times. KT getting picked off a couple of times, but nothing's ended the game just yet. So what's it going to take to finally allow KT to close this out?
Well, if Jin Air can somehow get KT to collapse mentally like they did in the first game, that's one win. Another way that they can do it is just a proper pick with the Malzahar. Rumble doesn't have QSS.
Oh man, an arrow hits onto Che. Scores walking forward. There's the Proto Belt to get Fly in just a little bit closer. And Che very, very low. Look at the equalizer. It's not a great equalizer to look at. But there's Che and Fly. Both gonna die. Lamb's Respite a little bit misplaced. And Score's got a dip. Someday does not have his ultimate. And there is actually, was that a Randuin's proc? I think that's what I saw. But in the meantime, in the bottom lane, there is a big wave of minions that should do a lot of damage to that second tier turret.
Yeah.
Same situation in the top lane, though, for Jin Air, and they will take that second tier down.
Well, the top lane is more beneficial because, as you can see, in the bottom lane, that's going to be able to be repelled, whereas these Baron enhanced minions not going to be able to be repelled.
Okay, well, the base turret under siege someday without an ultimate and a mid laner. So this will be a very difficult defense someday. Taking a lot of damage. We'll take a lantern back out. Jin Air. Oh my gosh, the hook on a wing, but an instant QSS.
Captain Jack getting some deja vu. I think I've seen this before.
But where? Perhaps himself. Let's get a quick replay. This is not going to be of that 1v1 in the bottom lane, but rather of the pick in
you
the
can see
mid.
the arrow lands on Che, but that's not the target that you want to hit. Equalizer a little bit late by Sunday. If he had just cast that exact equalizer 2 seconds earlier, this fight is completely different.
All right, late on the Lamb's Respite, late on the Sanguine Pool, both of which could have saved Fly's life. The perfect knockup from Che leads to Fly's demise and to an inhibitor in the top lane for Jin Air Green Wings.
Now there is an opening for Jin Air. In the event that they win a team fight, they now have a straight shot straight to KT's heart.
Wow, what a time to be alive. Now, Score is waiting, anticipating a face check.
Yeah, looking for a cheese, but not going to be found because he did walk over a ward, I believe.
And Hachani was right there for it with a lantern in case things went kind of pear-shaped. So, trying to set something up.
Mikhail's Crucible on Braum. That's actually a little bit surprising to see. So definitely some interesting itemizations.
I think this entire series has been surprising to see.
Indeed.
So what's working out? Oh my god, the catch on the Fly, and he gets suppressed and dies. That's that Malzahar.
There's that Mal's insurance I talked about.
Did Fly have QSS?
No, he doesn't.
Okay, so he does not have QSS.
This is one of the reasons Malzahar is so annoying, especially if you're double AP. You can't afford to go double QSS. You need those other items.
You need to equalize these waves. Like, something's got to give here. Che gets picked off. There's the equalizer. Che dropping down very, very low. Kuzan actually using his QSS someday with a Zanya's.
This is it.
Oh my god, the turnaround. Score does actually survive. Can they actually turn this one back around? Duskblade does not kill Score.
Well, Malzahar's ultimate is almost up again.
Oh man,
I love this guy.
Oh my god, this game is ridiculously close. Arrow gets hit by a little bit of rise damage. Inhibitor is defended.
No, I guess not.
I guess they can't stay for it.
They can turn this with Malzahar. It's just a few seconds.
If he turns around and gets a nice
Never mind, they split up too much. Oh, wait a second, hold on.
Oh, Kuzan.
Malzahar not looking for the angle, so nothing gonna happen here. So again, they just continue to posture. Super minions in top lane, that is gonna demand a response from someone. Looks like they're camping the brush. They want to try to make a pick onto someone, but they have so much ward coverage around this dragon.
Oh my god, another pick there, but it's not going to be enough. Hachani goes in, and he might actually go down, but he's got a Guardian Angel there. Pilot going over the wall there, and Arrow's flashing after him! Arrow gets the kill! Arrow's the hero, the god for KT! My Jest have led his team to salvation! A 4-for-0 exchange, and KT Rolster might have ridden the roller coaster to a win here in game number 3.
They might have just done it, but the problem is that Winged is up. You see that Che is trying to come around and proxy the wave. This is a tactic that, you know, could keep them in the game. Now, with Graves' ultimate, I don't think that the minions are going to be able to live. I may be wrong here.
Oh, he does ult the minion wave away. There's still a cannon minion, but it's going to die to end of the line. Now, both of these turrets, oh my god, they dropped too fast. KT are just crushing through everything in their paths. Both Nexus turrets down, and the Nexus soon to follow. A Lamb's Respite means no one dies, but the Nexus does. And after 52 minutes, in game number 3, an exhausted KT Rolster. You can see that there in Arrow's eyes. Complete a 2-1 victory over the Jin Air Green Wings and take sole control of first place in LCK.
Yeah, and I mean, they held steadfast. And it was impressive to see. And unfortunately for Jin Air, that misstep at the end there just cost them. And you know what? Credit to you know, Arrow getting it off in time before the hook ended. If the hook's duration had ended, that doesn't allow Hachani to go in and get the flay off.
Exactly.
And that's a completely different fight.
He could have also just exploded there before he could go in at all. I thought he was actually caught out, was about to die, and you know, be